Can you hear me?
Welcome there. Yours was louder. Welcome, there we go. Welcome everyone to the special city council meeting being held at 2267 North, 1500 West, Clinton, Utah on October 7th, 2025, 6 p.m. There is an option to attend this meeting electronically. We do have council member Gary Tyler that will be online with us along with our city manager. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and before the roll call, I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a invocation. Please rise. Okay. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father in heaven, we gather together as a city today and as a city council to continue to make changes and to work on approving things that come before us. We're grateful for thy spirit and for thy guidance for all of our employees and for all of the citizens that make this such a wonderful place to live. Please bless us with thy spirit and thy inspiration, that we can always do what's best and that we can all work together in a kind way. So thankful again for all that thou hast done for us, and that we live in this free country, and that we have the ability to participate in government. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Yeah. All right, today we only have one item on our menu. Sorry, menu. I haven't had dinner yet. Sorry. I'm hungry. One item on our agenda, and that's going to be the resolution 1025, a request from Wilson Homes to repeal and replace the Foothill Ditch Trail Plan Annexation Development Agreement. Yes, but before we get to that, one of our items of business is a roll call, so we'll go ahead and start with that one. Spencer,
Marie Doherty.
so Brandon Stanger,
Gary Tyler. Gary Tyler, can you hear me?
we'll try again here.
Can you hear me now? Gary Tyler.
The volume, we know he's online and participating in this meeting. We would like to excuse Councilmember Gray. For those that don't know, he recently purchased a home outside of Clinton and resigned his seat on the city council. So it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us today. So normally, if you're not familiar, a mayor doesn't get to vote unless there's a tiebreaker. So if for some reason there was a tiebreaker, I actually might get to vote. I think the last time that happened was 2 or so years. No, year and a half, right? 2 years, 2.5 years ago. So anyways, this is not a public hearing, so we won't have a separate part of the meeting for the public, but we do have our public input period, so I do see lots of faces in the audience today. For anybody that would like to address the council, it doesn't have to be in regards to this item, it can be in regards to anything, but if it is in regards to this item, we would definitely welcome that at this point in time in the meeting, so. Anybody from the public, please come forward, just state your name for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Hey, how are you? My name's Michael Dyer. I live on 1930 West, so just west here of the city council office. We kind of neighbored the city center park. It's kind of off topic from what you guys are meeting on today. But it's recently come to our attention that development has been thought about in regards to the plot of land that is to the west. So it's across from the park. It's currently undeveloped and has been for years. I think you guys are farming goat heads currently, so they're pretty rough. But so historically we've been here, we've lived here for 20 years. In the last iteration of the planning of the park. This is one of the reasons why the road 1850 West curves like this. So historically, we came here and we said, as they were developing the park, they asked input as to what we want, what our input was behind our house. And the south end of the park, south end said, we don't really want to have any neighbors, so that's why you put a berm there. And you had to as well because of the softball fields kind of lean in that way when they needed room with the power lines to shoehorn those in. So it's just which is great. And then we said on the north end, we'd like to have neighbors. We think that would be great to our backyard. And so rather than like a parking lot. So it sounds like there's been discussion in regards to putting a parking lot in. We feel like a parking lot would only get used probably once a year, maybe twice a year. And would be a cost to the city rather than putting homes in, it would be people paying some taxes. So as well as it would keep crime, people who maybe aren't committing crimes but are in the park after dusk and doing all kinds of stuff. The other night they were there till 2 in the morning. So we've asked the city, the police to make it part of the rounds to kind of swing by there occasionally, and that has helped with that. But we think that if a parking lot were put in there, then we would have a lot more, like really close to our houses, a lot more activity late at night and things like that. Also it'd be better development for houses. We have a housing shortage, why you guys are talking to it. And we think public safety would be better. So far, it's been a little bit of a cantankerous relationship between ourselves that live there and the city, just because it hasn't been developed. We've had to come to say, hey, cut the weeds down, things like that. Recent years has been great, things like that. On Heritage Days, there's a lot of people that walk by, there's a lot of people that use it for a parking lot, even though it's there. And they'll park really close and things like that. So we've asked you to put barriers and different things like that. Recently, we put a fence up on our own deck. As we've asked the city in the past to put up a fence, but they haven't. So those are our feelings on it. We would strongly recommend selling the property. Could be $500,000 to $1 million boom to the city to use that and put more houses in there. I think that'd be good.
Thank you, appreciate your time, Michael. Anyone else?
Don't mind, good today.
You don't have to run. We got the whole night reserved.
pretty short. Okay, Hannah Clevey, I know I've had this conversation with the nice folks at Nelson and a few of you. But when this whole project out west was proposed, I got kind of upset when they said they were gonna gift the city the park. I thought, oh great, something else for us to have to upkeep. Another little park that's not gonna get used that much, and then I started thinking, how can we make this park different from the others? And I know, Brandon, I just brought this up to you. But if we could put some ADA, some more accessible, kind of. I don't know, I'm pregnant and my brain's not working, but if we could just have some more accessible amenities, I guess, in this park, if you guys have been to Riverdale lately. They put in some great bigger swings that larger kids can use, where they strap in, they can't fall out of. Also, there's more ramps and, kind of this swingy thing that reminds me of those big boats at the carnivals. So you can like take grandma up there or a child in a wheelchair and this thing sways back and forth. And then I was thinking, well, gosh, the folks at Nilsson are already taking a hit by deleting these 76 townhomes. What could maybe we do to work hand in hand with them? And then I realized that the RAP committee is kind of trying to find ways to use that money and, here's your RAP tax dollars at work. So I thought maybe we could, help out with the cost of some of these ADA things in the community, put a little plaque on the swing, your RAP tax dollars at work, just something to kind of make this park stand out from other parks. And I just wanted to get that on the record. I thought that was a great deal. And I don't know if it's something we can make happen, but I just thought it would be nice for it to be different. The park that's gonna go in at this development out west that Nelson is here for, and then I mentioned Riverdale. Yeah, okay, thanks guys.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
We reserved the whole night just for this item, so we figured we'd have lots of comments. So anybody else, public input?
Craig Butt, I live just north of the project. You guys have been to planning meetings. I spoke at the planning commission and I did say that I approve of what Nelson Homes has proposed. It's a much better plan, in my opinion, to the prior plan. Still a big project, still have concerns over traffic, where's it all gonna go, things of that nature, but generally, I think it's a better way to go, and I appreciate you guys taking a look at it. I've talked to several of my neighbors down there. They're of the same opinion that, well, it's better than it was. Is it perfect? No. Do we have to solve the state's housing crisis in Clinton City? No. We have to be a part of it, I agree, but it's a big project. But again, it's better than it was, and I just wanted to state that again. I stated the same thing, with the planning commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. See if Simons was gonna get anybody else.
You got somebody. My name is Greg Allen, a longtime resident, but new time renter. Makes any sense there. I've been attending some of these meetings just of recent, partially because of the development out west. And I just wanted to say thank you to Nelson Homes for listening to feedback. I'm excited about tonight, reading over the agenda, how the feedback has listened to the feedback. And they are willing to change some things. Now, I agree with the previous guy, that is it perfect? No. Has it improved since last time? Yes. And I'm interested to see what happens tonight, but I just want to give a thanks to the council for listening to Nelson for being flexible and helping out the situation. So thank you.
You. Once. Twice. 3 times? Okay. We'll move forward then from our public input period to the business. Again, that's the resolution to repeal and replace the annexation development agreement. I think I'd like to start, we've got Peter here, who's our city planner. He's been the man behind the scenes and a lot of the hard lift on writing, rewriting, and on and on and on. But with that, we did have the planning commission meeting just recently. There was a unanimous approval there at the planning commission, but I'd like to have Peter just kind of give us an update on what a few of those items were, so that way when we have discussions tonight, we're able to take those into consideration before moving forward with any kind of a vote. For those that aren't very familiar with this topic, it's been going on since basically 4 years ago. Originally, this area was been part of an annexation plan that would have gone to West Point. Councilmember Doherty and I think are the only two that were part of that here tonight. Councilmember Tyler was here too, but we went to a boundary hearing commission. I think Craig, you were in attendance that day, and we basically floated our case out there of this area would most likely best be served by Clinton. It was closer to our police, our fire. We're already out there providing services to this area. We have sewer lines nearby, water lines and so forth. So from that boundary hearing commission, they did decide to go ahead and not have that go to West Point. After that happened, then the original developer came to Clinton and said, we'd like to annex into Clinton. And we've been through all kinds of iterations. Then eventually, we had the referendum, got more feedback from that. And then that's where Nielsen Homes came to the table. Thank you guys for being willing to hear us out and really try to make a project that, again, we're never gonna have perfect, but we do at least have some consensus and some collaboration that's gone forth over the last year. So that's how we ended up kind of here tonight. So thank you guys. Peter, you're first, or actually, Peter, I'm gonna put you on hold. Sure. Let's just have Nielsen, I know you guys gave just a kind of a quick rundown on some of the things you guys have done for the planning commission. If you don't mind, just in case there's some people here that weren't in that meeting, they can also listen in. And the Dyers, you guys are welcome to hang out the rest of the meeting. If not, we definitely have heard your point. If you guys have an evening to continue on with, don't feel bad to leave.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Lacey Richards with Nielsen Homes, 1740 Colby Road in Ogden. We're really happy to be here. We love to be in communities where we feel like we can be a vital and positive part of the community. We've received some very good feedback from the mayor, council, planning commission, residents, and we're excited about the improvements we've made to make this project something that is more in line with what the residents of Clinton want to see for their communities. So just to recap, there is an approved development agreement on this. That development agreement is still in force. This one that we're asking to be approved tonight would take the place of that one to do our version of the project instead, which we think is, okay, that's not recommended. Which we think is better. What's that? We think it's better. So what we've done, we have a different layout. We feel like it feels a lot more like a home in a community. It's applied some design principles that will make the open space a lot more usable for people living in the project, a lot more usable for those in the neighborhood and those in the city who are accessing the trailhead park there. We have reduced the number of townhomes by 76. We still have the 75 single family homes. We think that mix is important, but we took out 76 townhomes on our plan from the original plan. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, this plan that you can see up here, I'm sure most people here have seen it a lot of times, but that purple one is the original plan. And you can see it was really linear and, you know, not a lot of variation and the curvilinear things that give your eyes something to look at. We've turned the units along the edges of the neighborhood so that there'll be some view corridors there. So it just it just lives and feels a lot better, in our opinion. We've also listened to input from the elected officials, from the staff, from people in the community who've said, hey, it's important to us that some of these elements are incorporated. We're planning to pave the walking trail along the western side of the project there to tie into your existing trail system. And then we'll have a nice trailhead park there at that top left corner. That'll have a pavilion, a playground, some parking for people who don't live in the neighborhood who want to hop on the trail system there and be able to have access to that parking and restrooms and a place to play in and hop on the trail there. Another thing that we have happily agreed to is we feel like opportunities for home ownership are very important for your residents. So we've agreed to place deed restrictions on half of these units where it will be restricted for owner occupancy. So it won't be available to be leased or rented out. We feel like that kind of anchor of the community. I mean, I've been a renter, probably a lot of you have been renters as a former military spouse. I'm super grateful that there were communities near bases where we could do that, but we feel like this will provide a good mix with half of those units being anchored in home owner occupancy. And just to close, I just let you know that we're just really grateful for this process. It's been not quite as long for us as it's been for all of you, but it's been a long process, but it's been a great process of listening and hearing what the concerns are, hearing what if we did this, would it make it better? And we're really grateful for the opportunity to be part of making it better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Peter, you ready? Yes, sir.
Mayor and Council, thank you this evening for organizing this time to meet together to review this important project. Lacey has gone over kind of the basics of the old plan, the proposed plan. But what we're here to talk about mainly is obviously that's an exhibit to this proposed development agreement, but to look at and review what's proposed that will stay with this property through the remainder of the entitlement period. The council had an original copy that was in your packet that was posted. And then since then, we've received additional comments from city staff and council members. And we've done our best to incorporate those into this document with changes. And I just want to highlight a few of those. There's the section 4.1 that talks about the immigration trail that runs along the west side of the project. And originally the language spoke of having a solid vinyl fence between the trail and the canal right of way. Feedback from our city engineer and public works department was that a chain link fence with an 18-inch concrete no strip was the preferred option for that area. And that's noted that it kind of was in one version and out of another, but what we sent you prior to the meeting has that change. There was a reference on page 5 about the parking and amenities, but that was stricken in favor of including that in subsection 4.2.6. Other major updates and changes relative to the parking, the off-street parking, or the detached single family and the townhomes. The city council and the staff wanted to make sure that those required parking stalls would not include any tandem garage spaces to fulfill that requirement. Probably the main issue that we've gone back and forth on the most has to do with the offsite sewer line, which is a proposed line that would service this project together with other properties in the area. But in order for this property to develop, this line needs to be placed that extends from this property on the eastern edge and would run north. We'll go underneath the West Davis corridor. I don't know if this has a lesion on it or not. I don't think it does. That map, it's the vacant property to the east of the development site. And so that's where the West Davis corridor is proposed. The sewer line would need to go under that corridor and then run along the east side of the corridor, extend up to the north along the west edge of the Cranefield Golf Course. And then there would be a line extended across a portion of the golf course to the sewer lift station. And so the discussion back and forth was initially about the sizing of that line. That the city estimates that we need a 12-inch line because of the slope associated with that entire section. And clarifications about that this is an area that is part of, and this is a long acronym, the Clinton City, let me make sure I get this right, Sanitary Sewer Special Service District. So we call it the 4SD, I guess is what you call it. So that's the entity that deals with the sewer lift station and the service area of that facility. So whether it's the city or the city acting through that service district, those clarifications were added to section 7.4. And then further discussion focused on reimbursement that the developer, Nielsen Homes, would install that line because it's necessary for the development of their project. And then the agreement talks about how some of those costs will be reimbursed to the developer, and that would happen through impact fees that are collected from this development and any other development or lots developed within the service area that this line would cover. And so then we had the back and forth about the time frame of those reimbursements, and we ended up on an agreement that the time frame would be basically until that facility is paid for. And we'll down the road as we work with them to refine things, we'll look at trying to refine and get a better idea of maybe what that time frame and cost might be and how that fits in to the impact fee facilities planning that's going on right now as well. At section 7.5, it was stricken because it was fairly redundant to this section 7.4 that we spent so much time on. So the agreement also includes the several exhibits, that same plan there. Also a streets and drives exhibit that shows the public right of ways. I don't know if we can go to those or not.
Right.
Should I try it now? Oh yeah, there we go. Awesome. So this is the streets and right of way map that shows the public right of ways, the standard 60-foot, and the what do we call that? An alternate public right of way, which is the blue section that loops through the eastern part of the development. And then there are private drives, the shorter 150-foot ones that service the properties that Lacey described on the outer edge in that orange color. And then this is the cross sections for those streets. The public and the two public right of ways, and then the 26 and 20-foot private drive or access.
And then Peter,
sections.
if you'll go back to that screen, the update to the 2644 one was a 2-foot curb and gutter, a 3-foot arch strip, and a 4-foot sidewalk, similar to what we have throughout the city.
Yeah, and that's what in the code, and so I apologize, this exhibit didn't get upgraded in the packet, but you're right, it follows exactly what's in the PRD overlay, so thank you. And then this is the trail right of way cross section, which we will update. Lisa and I talked about that to show the chain link fence as opposed to the vinyl fence. And we could also put a note in there about the low strip if needed. And then the open space and amenities plan. You can see the 3 main park areas, 2 and 3 are to be HOA owned and maintained. And then park number 1 is proposed to be a public park. dedicated to the city with amenities, also serve as a detention basin, mostly for this project, but I believe there's some other properties that might come into that. Is that right?
A little bit from West
A
Point.
little bit from West Point. It also includes kind of a parking area for trailhead type setup. You can see the two trail corridors that kind of converge there. And also note is that UDOT, with the extension of the West Davis corridor, this will be part of the trail extension that coincides with that project. So they're looking at alternatives to try and get another connection to the west. They're trying to get to 4,500 west somehow. So that's in the works. The various amenities associated with each of the parks are listed there. And that other detention basin on the south end. So that pretty much covers it. Thank you. Any questions?
And then as far as the planning commission's recommendations, concerns, anything else that you'd like to address there?
No, they were pretty much in accordance with the draft that they saw. So these updates are updates to that document that they saw. And so, yeah, their recommendation was unanimous.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now we get to turn that to questions and concerns from the council. So would anybody like to start that discussion?
Well, I have some. Just wanted to clarify, so on the fence, it says on there, the vinyl fencing, right? But we're just planning to change to the chain link between the trail and the Hooper Canal, but not between the trail and the housing. You're wanting still a vinyl fence for that, yeah. And that's only mentioned on the exhibit, I think, but not in the draft.
Between the trail and, sorry.
The trail and the Hooper Canal is where our public works wanted the chain link so that they could see what's happening in the canal. Yeah. I'm just clarifying this on the record, but I already know what Lacey said that was what you guys want, right?
Yeah, we're happy to make that change. I think it makes a lot of sense. We'll make the change on the exhibit, and then there's also a section in the development agreement. Just have to find it, where that change is gonna be made as well.
Well, yeah, 4.1 says the part about the chain link fence.
Yes.
But I just didn't know about the vinyl fence.
Right, yeah, so the exhibit shows that the chain link will change that one between the trail and the canal to show the chain link with the most strip. And then the one on the other side will be just the developer's discretion. We typically do a white vinyl.
Okay, so you'll leave it saying developer's discretion, but that's your intent to put it
Yes.
there, yeah, okay. That was my point, is that part wasn't in the development agreement, because it's still at your discretion, but just wanting to be clear.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And so then while you're here, Lacey, will you talk to us about the parking in this, so that, because that's one of the
Yes.
issues that's been really important to our residents for a long time, is how much parking, and to us as city council members. And so I know that you've included, 53 parking stalls in the project.
Yes, yeah, there are 53 guest parking stalls that don't depend on a public right of way or a driveway. So 53 off-street guest parking stalls. And then, yeah, we really appreciated the clarification. We never wanted to do tandem, but we were really happy to put it in there because you don't want it, we don't want it. So that was great. And then, yes, we do have a minimum standard included in here for off-street parking for each of the homes in here. Just like you don't like to see them and people don't want to deal with them, we want to sell these houses. So it's in our best interest as well to make sure that the parking is plentiful and more than adequate, because when people come to look at a house, that's one of the things they're checking on.
Yeah, so what have you noticed in your other subdivisions as you created them like this, regarding parking, like on-street parking on public streets? Do people tend to say, oh, well, we don't have any access to a guest parking stall, so we're just gonna park all over the streets? Or do you feel like it's sufficient what you have?
Yeah, we have a similar neighborhood in one of our developments, and we have the off-street parking kind of interspersed throughout the project. Here we've tried to make sure that it's distributed well throughout the project. So really it comes down to convenience. You know, if you've got to park at this very corner of the project to walk over to your friend's house to drop off your kids to be babysat, you're gonna park in front of the house, you know, and some of that will still happen for just quick stuff. But we've distributed them in a way that makes that the convenient, safe option to utilize those off-street guest parking spaces.
And is there any kind of HOA provision that you anticipate that would prevent?
So, yeah,
Crazy.
we provided ample parking, they've got garages, they've got driveway parking spaces, we've made sure to set them back far enough from the road, thanks to the great input from all of you to make sure that those accommodate parking easily. Yeah, the road that's shown in blue, kind of on the eastern third of the project, will not have parking on the street.
Yeah, and that's a dual enforcement by the HOA and the city.
And one clarification for you guys, when you're working with your CCNRs, just know that we do have winter parking restrictions.
Mhm.
And so on your purple there, on winter months, that won't be
Mhm.
available.
Now I only have one other thing, Mayor, and that's just to say that, and I already talked to Lacey about this. I feel like we probably haven't been able to spend an adequate amount of time talking about that park, the public park, and what we really want it to look like. Maybe getting input from our staff and the rec tax committee, and so I asked Lacey if she felt like the material changes provision included in this development agreement was sufficient to allow us to make administrative changes to that park conceptual if needed down the road, and she said yes. And so I would just like to request that we maybe have some more discussion going forward on exactly how we want that to be and just work in tandem with Nelson to make it what's best for the long-term maintenance and necessity for our city.
Yeah, we want something that works for you and works for us, and yeah, we'd be honored to cooperate on some kind of grant applications. Usually, when you have multiple entities coming in and saying, hey, we'd like to make this better, you get something really great in the end.
Well, I just really appreciate your willingness to build it in the first place. It's really great. I think it's an excellent addition to the development group.
Lacey, I've got one while you're there. If you can turn to the deed restriction. I know
Yes.
at one point in time it was 10 years and then it went away, then we changed that, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure that we've got the 10 years after which the deed restrictions would come off, but then the HOA would continue to
Correct.
keep that. So any issues with you guys as far as that in the market goes or anything from a language standpoint, they're making sure?
Yeah, it's working great for us now. We're doing it in some of our other neighborhoods, and we crafted that 10-year period with some input from lenders. It's becoming more common in Utah. It's not as common in some other areas of the country. So our lenders told us that that's where they were really comfortable, and it's been working great for us so far.
So after 10 years, if the rentals haven't been met, then somebody from that deed restriction could then do their rentals. However, they can never go past that 50% mark to keep the homeownership, which is our main goal.
Right, yeah, all that could change at that point is it might change which of the homes were making up the 50%.
In the introduction, it just might have sounded a little different, so that's why I was just making sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still on the same page there. And then, council members, Harvey or Searle, any other questions or comments?
No, my thing was the park too, just getting more time on that, so Councilman already interested. We're good, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
This staff had emailed just kind of concerned about, if there is a small park and it can't be used for fields where we can charge fees and so forth, how does that affect the community? I think most of us are under the awareness that, we are gonna have some parks that are mostly just a pit stop. That is gonna be a restroom break for those trails, but that was the whole goal, was to make sure that that becomes kind of our meeting point and that focal point of all of those trails where there could be somebody that can take a break, have lunch, use the restroom, do what we can. But I think to our recreation department and soon to be parks, we're definitely aware that more parks means more manpower, means more budget. But at the same time, I think parks are super important to our residents, and that's one area that I think most people would really be fine with knowing that that's where some of their tax dollars are going. And I think as we move forward with the request for ADA or other items, then we can use that in conjunction with our RAP tax committee to find where the best place is to put some of these other different decisions of what goes where. But, you know, we're just glad to be able to have a park and be able to make that work with all the trails coming together there.
Yeah, there's just a comment on that from personal experience. There's a trail in the city where I live that doesn't have any parking to access it, and so people get pretty creative. So I think it's fantastic that all of you have planned ahead and said, hey, we want a trailhead park here, because it makes a big difference.
Thank you. Councilmember Cheryl?
I really think it hasn't been already addressed, I lament the loss of, you know, a number of starter homes in the community and some of the amenities, but I think there's also a lot to like about your new plan, so. I think, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mayor, I just have one last thing to say before we go. I guess I just want to acknowledge all the work of our community, all the people. I think this wouldn't have been possible without all of their efforts to make their voices known, and that takes guts and it takes a lot of work and time from people, and I wanted to acknowledge that effort, because we wouldn't be here today making this agreement without the public. And I'm grateful to Nelson Homes for their willingness to come to the table, because you did take a kind of a hit on this. You could have made more money on it, but you wanted to be the kind of people who build a community. You said that at the beginning. You said, we want to come to a place where people want us, where we feel like we're desired rather than hated, and I think that's really important. It's great that you run your business like that. Maybe the last couple little things just to acknowledge in transparency's sake. We did have to, in this agreement, make just a little bit of an adjustment to some of our setbacks. So we had to allow for a 10-foot backyard setback. That's the minimum, whereas it used to be a 15-foot. And that's not to say that they're just gonna try to make every single yard 10 feet, but it's just allowing for a minimum in some of the places where they need to have flexibility. And so that was a change. I'm trying to think of, there are a couple little changes like that, just.
One other was the garages. And originally we wanted to see 2-car side-by-side garages, bigger driveways everywhere. Just to help with attainability and make things a little bit more affordable. We were okay seeing that there was gonna be the chance of a 1-car garage, whether they use that or not. We did though put into the agreement that could not exceed more than 10% of the project, because we just didn't want a project with a whole bunch of 1-car garages. Any of those that do have that will have an extra parking space there, so that there will still be those 3 spots.
A non-tandem parking.
Yes, so again, I think you're spot on, Majority, where there's been just tons and tons of collaboration with that, so. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think we all really came together at this tail end trying to fix this and make it better for everybody, and that's a bonus. That really is.
Well, thank you for those comments. It's just amazing to see how we're all interconnected. How long have you worked for Nelson Homes, Mike?
Me?
Sorry, Mike Ostavilla.
Well, I mean, since I started working for Jed the day I met it, it started bossing me around. It's been a long time.
But it's really cool to see how things come to pass with relationships. Mike and I have known each other for almost 20 years, and I think we're really instrumental in being able to say, hey, let's bring everybody together. It's not too often that we have the owner of one of the largest builders in Utah in our council meeting. So Jed, if you'll just take a quick minute and kind of give us your thoughts on this. I know Councilmember Jordy and I and others have talked directly with you and your passion and your vision for how you build homes and how you want to see your homes in the community. So time is yours for a couple minutes.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me a minute to speak. You said my name, Jed Nelson, and I was sitting there thinking to myself that as others introduce themselves with their name and where they live in Clinton City, and that I don't live in Clinton City. And it hit me at some point in my career, how egotistical it is that, developers go into cities where they don't even live and try to dictate to that city what should be built in that city. And in many instances get angry and start fights about what they think your city needs. And, I just wanted to say thank you, to all of you, and staff, that have been involved in this, because I just think this is such a beautiful way, of a developer and a city working together and listening to each other. And we've been able to say, well, here's why this doesn't work. And then you guys, oh, okay, now what if we do this other option? And we've been able to work together on something to create a community that I plan on all of us being proud of in 50 years from now, that we did it this way and we thought it through. And the mind, the word that came to mind as I was sitting there is, courage. That, I have to compliment all of you, because it's taken a ton of courage to decide to address the housing affordability crisis. Because yes, not all of it can be fixed in Clinton or any individual city, but every city needs to do their part. And it took a lot of courage to do that. And it took a ton of courage to look at it and say, okay, but when we do it, we want to do it in a way that we're all very proud of. And so I just can't say, thank you enough, for hopefully giving us the opportunity to build this community. And we decided a few years ago that our vision is that we improve lives by creating community with love. And I look at it and go, if we're creating a community and it's not going to improve lives and create love, then we don't want to be a part of it. And we hope and feel like this community is going to improve lives. It is going to be filled with love, and it will add to the city of Clinton, and just really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
And a little history, Jed's dad was he the founder, or?
Yes.
So second generation?
Yep,
And one of our neighborhoods that a lot of people like to reference in Clinton is the small patio homes, and that's was one of your guys' I think very first communities back in the day in Clinton. So that's kind of come full circle, and just fun to see how everything is kind of that connections there. So thank you guys for being great partners to work with through this process and stepping up to the plate, coming into a situation that on your side took a lot of courage also to move forward with, and we're grateful for that. So Councilmember Tyler, we didn't give you an opportunity to weigh in. Did you have any questions or comments before we look for a motion?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I had a great speech all prepared. I typed it up into the chat, but I'll save you just, I am down here at the One Utah Summit in Cedar City with Governor Cox and Mike Schultz. And housing is definitely one of the big discussions. And I feel like we are definitely doing the right thing. Not just because, as was just mentioned, about the housing shortage, and Clinton isn't going to solve it for the whole city all at once, but we are providing the opportunity for our children, our parents, those that are looking for this type of a development, to be able to stay here and live next to family. So I again grateful for the changes that we have all agreed on and come to. I do feel this will be a great development and will benefit Clinton for years to come. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further comments, then is there someone then that would be willing to make that motion? We'll have staff put that up onto the screens here.
Mayor, can I make that motion?
I'll go ahead and read it, and then you can say so moved. How does that work?
Great.
Is there a motion to request from, or we have a request from Nielsen Homes to repeal and replace the Foothill Ditch LLC Trail Point Annexation Development Agreement with the agreement for the development of land between Clinton City and Nielsen Land Holdings LLC for 34.9 acres located at approximately 2088 north, 4500 west.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call starting with Councilmember Harvey.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
And that's not a tie, so I don't get to vote. All right, that motion passes unanimously, and is there a motion now to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
See you, Gary. Oh, see you, Trevor.
I just know that I'm going to your desk forever. Because I'm longer.
That's